Feel alive during Feldman Chevrolet's biggest New Year's sales event ever. Get the best prices on our huge selection of award-winning Chevrolets. Like this 2024 Equinox for $188 per month. Or this 2024 Silverado for $268 per month. It's the New Year's sales event going on now at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
What up, though, people, man?
Let's
It's
go.
time to wake up, Woodward, and we are live today. Where are we live from? You want to tell the people?
Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. This is Feldman Chevrolet. I'm looking at Mark Murray, Mr. Sales Consultant over there. We're having a great time here. This is my first off-site, my first show at Feldman Chevrolet.
Wow.
How cool is this right in front of the blue Corvette?
Let's go. Let's go. Do we get to take one of these home?
Oh, yeah, that's part of the agreement. Like, we come, we get to drive off the lot with this blue Corvette.
Let's go, man. Let's go. Let's go. Hey, you know what? The sun is out today, man. Shining. It's time to wake up, Woodward.
Let's go, baby.
You know what, man? Did you see that All-Star game?
I witnessed some of the festivities. I wasn't really into the game last night. I watched the three-point shooting contest. The dunk contest bored me. That All-Star weekend is not what it used to. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. This NBA All-Star weekend is not for me anymore.
Yeah, it seems like it's more for the sponsors and the advertisers and less of what the game actually used to represent, man, where the best of the best give their all. Man,
Right?
I kind of miss the competitive nature that people
Jordan
like
and
Kobe, the 04 Pistons who entered the All-Star game and
Yes.
decided we're going to actually play defense here, where you had to bring your game and you were going to get embarrassed. That's what I'm going to see out of our top of the top athletes in these respective sports do. With football, I understand, because there's that element to get hurt. But with basketball, you guys are supposed to be able to step on that court and represent what you have all season, man. And it's different when you have this kind of thing to compare to of years past, and then you kind of see this weekend that is just much less than what it used to be, man.
Dude, growing up, assuming you made an all-star game in some sport, like that's the time where you almost give your heart, you almost work the hardest. You're going against the best of the best. You want to prove yourself. Yeah. So I just remember trying to play my best in those games, not take it as like a weekend off. It's
I look
different.
forward to it. Like even in high school and everything, when you went or AAU and you went to play in these kind of all-star games, you went there, especially during the summer, man. I remember going up to Aim High Gym and some of the other legendary gyms kind of around the way. You went to these places to try and absolutely show out and hold your own. And now the situation that we have right now is one that just kind of turned into a snooze fest. A snooze fest. And I love basketball.
Me too.
That's no secret. I absolutely love it. This is a game I used to love. I remember being young, watching these games, and it was just like all-out competition. At halftime, I'm going outside and practicing all the moves and everything, and then getting right back in time to watch the rest of the game. This was one that I was just like, yeah.
Seriously. By the way, shout out to all you in the chat. Thanks for supporting us. We got Dan Wood first in, John F. and Lord, Brian Ruth. What up, Doe? Vincent Ellison. Stick says protect my car. I'll protect it for you, Stick. I see you, Freddie Felt, Phil, Terry. We got everyone in. Ed Catilius.
I want to know what they feel, too.
Actually.
I want to know what they feel. You know, definitely, man. Put in the chats how you guys feel or felt about this All-Star, this NBA All-Star game, this All-Star weekend, really.
Did you watch Steph versus Sabrina Ionescu?
You know what? Some of it was individually great.
Yeah.
I loved it.
That was my favorite part of the weekend, seeing New York Liberty star Sabrina Ionescu go up against Steph Curry in the three-point shooting contest. Somehow, as awesome as it was, there's still some controversy because of Kenny the Jet Smith calling for her to shoot from the women's three-point line. We don't need any of that. I thought it was incredible. She had 26 points, which was the same amount that Dame Lillard shot. The same amount that Dame Lillard Same amount that Dame Lillard made in the all-male NBA three-point shooting contest. She had 26. Steph Curry just went with 29, making 9 of the last 10. But he's the best shooter alive.
But the
ever.
Jet, man, it seemed like he was hating all weekend, man.
Who else did he go after?
Lauri Markkanen.
That's right.
Like he wouldn't be a number one on a winning team, on a championship contending team. It's just like, bro, cool the Jets. Seriously, man, cool the Jets. Kenny the Jets.
Pun intended.
Let these guys, and who knows? Maybe if they went out there and gave a better All-Star weekend, maybe. But for me personally, I'm kind of tired of hearing the old guard talking down on what the product is today and who these players are today. It's like, let these guys go out there and be great in their own right. There wasn't people who were looking down on them, not from what I can remember, and hating on those guys. All-Star Weekend used to be a celebration of what the NBA and the brotherhood and the fraternity was, and now it seems like with this older guard kind of being at the helm of media, it can sometimes turn into something that we get out of Kenny J. Smith.
Right.
Kind of just, you know what, I'm going to kind of be against everything. I'm going to want better out of this. I'm going to want this to be this way. It's just like, come on, guys. Come on, guys.
Come on.
Come on.
Come on, guys. Shout out Lunchbox Hooligans. I see you here, too. Also, Freddie Felt. Kool-Aid, I wonder if the vibe would have just felt different being in Indianapolis. That's where Freddie Felt's from. He sent me some pictures traveling all around the city. He got to meet Jalen Rose. He was down showing some love at a Lids in Indianapolis. So I bet the whole weekend was fun for the NBA, for the people in Indianapolis. But the product on the court, on TV, us here up in Detroit, didn't do it for me. Doesn't do it for me anymore. No offense, Mac McClung. It doesn't do it for me.
But you know what, though? I wonder if it has that effect on us right now because of where our NBA team is, too. And I want to be fair to that, because if our players, if our guys are there, because I know a lot of Detroit was clued into what Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey were going to do at least in that rookie sophomore challenge and the Rising Stars challenge. And I wonder if some of our guys were there, if there would be something for us to more or less buy into, because Detroit players throughout kind of the history of this game has always brought Detroit to that game in the way that they play, in the way that they represent themselves, in the way that you see them wearing the Detroit hats and whatnot. And it gave us something to buy into. Like, I remember the 2004 Pistons entering in that game saying, you know what, we're going to actually play defense.
And shut them down.
We're going to actually play team ball. And they absolutely showed out. And it was something that we all, as Pistons fans, could be like, yeah, those are our guys. Even Grant Hill, when he used to go. I don't know how many people remember Grant Hill's time in Detroit, but when Grant Hill used to go, it was like, you know what, it's Jerry Stackhouse. These guys represented us, and I think it did give us a little bit more to buy into when they would compete in the three-point contest, compete in the skills competition, and it was a weekend where Detroit could actually say, you know what, those are our guys.
Yeah. Do you think – I was just brainstorming this on the drive out here to Feldman Chevrolet in Novi, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. Do you think the game eventually turns into, or they just make it the Rising Stars game? You know, the best of the young talent in the league coming out and playing hard, showing off, instead of the veterans of the league just coming for the weekend? Or am I just kind of pulling that out of nowhere?
Yeah, I like what they're doing with the Rising Stars.
Okay.
I really do. I do. Because I always believed that All-Star Weekend, it got to the point where it was kind of excluding some of what the face of the league is supposed to be in 5 years, in 10 years. I do like what they're doing right now. I wish that, you know, I don't know, man. This weekend, omitting Cade Cunningham to me, and I get it, some injuries, I get it, kind of what the Pistons season has been. Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, they did get in there, but that skills competition was sorely missing Cade Cunningham. Yeah. That left a lot to be desired, man. Yeah. But one other thing that kind of grinded my gears, I think I'm just salty this morning, bro, because when you're looking at that All-Star game, I told you this before the show, it was like a referendum on what Detroit has not done and how much and how far Detroit has fallen. When you see players there that we've passed on, like Tyrese Halliburton starting the game off with 5 straight threes. When you see other top rookies that are drafted within the same time frame as our guys, like Paolo Banchero and Scotty Barnes, representing their teams at the All-Star, it's just like, what in the world? You know, this thing started off with so much hype in terms of the restore. And last night, to me, was like one of those pins just in the – it was just like, this is where you guys are and this is where you aren't. And it was just like, man, we talk about it often. This restore, this rebuild for the Detroit Pistons is supposed to be one that is predicated on their young guys being the next level, the next all-stars in Detroit Pistons history. And we didn't see any of our guys there.
Nothing. I will say the thing I actually took out of the weekend the most – a little budding rivalry between Jaden Ivey and Benedict Mathurin. Number 5th pick overall and the number 6 pick overall in 2022. There's this level of respect that they have for each other, but also this fire to be great. And there's something about the Pistons versus the Pacers. It brings up some good the good feelings in a rivalry. And I want to ask you, is there a rivalry forming, A, and B, do you need both teams to be good for it to actually be a rivalry? Like, can the Pistons have a rival right now being so bad?
As it relates to a team, it gets a little bit difficult for the Pistons to actually have a rivalry because these things are born through the passion as well, not just of the players on the court, but also how the fans carry this thing on as well. And right now, the Pistons haven't given the fans too much to realistically be passionate about. But when you're talking about individual players, when you're talking about the chips kind of on players' shoulders, those things definitely can bud. And I do believe, and I do, just like how every time Tyrese Halliburton wants to play the Pistons, you already know what he's thinking about. Every time Benedict Mathurin wants to play the Pistons, you already know what he's thinking about. And it's in what makes this rivalry, this budding rivalry between them two, even a little bit more spicy is the fact that Benedict Mathurin supposedly was told that Detroit is very interested in you in the draft. It seemed as if Jaden Ivey was going to wind up with the Pacers, a place that he kind of grew up in, his second home, compared to Detroit. When he spent time here, Mom got traded to Indiana Fever and then became the coach at Notre Dame women's basketball. And so now all of a sudden you got kind of this place that is connected to Jaden Ivey, and Benedict Mathurin is there now. He's there, and he's letting him know it. He was not shy about it either. Every quote that he could give after that game was like, yeah, I like playing against him. Oh, I love him in a special type of way. Jaden Ivey was more or less being respectful and whatnot. But you could tell, especially in their interactions on the court, that this is a matchup that I'm hoping for the sake of us as fans of this game, fans of the Detroit Pistons.
Yes.
We remember how passionate it was. We've seen when this fan base gets to its peak, we deserve what that rivalry could be. We deserve to see the Pistons and the Pacers being able to be kind of equal rivals again, like we saw during the early 2000s. That's what I'm hoping that the Pistons can get back to. But again, this weekend was one that just kind of let me know probably how far away we actually are from that, man.
Yeah, definitely. Dante151 says, if the Pistons were good, then they could have a rivalry with the Suns and the Pacers. Love that. How about this, Big Daddy Buttman? That's what I'm talking about. That ain't no rivalry. No one cares what's going on in the back of the classrooms. He's got a point. Ooh. If they're both struggling, who really cares? Last one, Josh Horton, brought your car to work today. I did. I actually just brought it right inside. I drove the blue Corvette right through those two doors.
Yeah, mine is
here
right
at Michigan's
over there
#1 Chevy dealer.
That kind of gray Corvette back there.
They got some nice Corvettes all over this place. Come check out Feldman Chevrolet. This is actually where I got my Blazer. I leased it from Francis back there. I don't know if he's here yet, but Francis, same day, in and out, Chevy Blazer, got me with the Midnight Edition. He really hooked it up. They do great work here. Head on out to Feldman Chevrolet. Eduardo O'Neill, GM. Michael Weary, good morning. John F. and Lord. Dan Wood. Tammy.
Thank you guys for being here, too. Make sure, as always, I know we're in a different location, different place, different setup today, but we depend on you all and your support, and we appreciate it always. Make sure that you guys hit that like button, but we do got to go around the city real quick before we take this first break, and we're going to talk about it more in the next segment. Chauncey Billups being named a finalist for the NBA Hall of Fame.
Yes, that's how it should be.
I need you guys to cue up your favorite Chauncey Billups moments. I need you guys to get that ready, man. Start getting them into the chat as well. The Tigers, we have a little bit of Tigers news,
man. A little bit of Tigers news, a signing and a trade. First, they signed Keston Hiura, a veteran, but a young veteran. He's a second baseman, a little bit of infield, had a really good rookie year with the Milwaukee Brewers. Hit over 300 in over 80 games, then just took a nosedive. His bat disappeared. He's been spending a lot of time in the minors, spent all of 2023 in the minor leagues, got his batting average back up over 300. The Tigers signed him to a minor league deal, which is no risk, high reward. He's going to be competing for a spot on the opening day roster, probably one of the last spots for an infield position, a platoon. Not a starter, but someone with a little bit of upside and someone who can help these young guys develop also. But they also made a trade. This Tigers team, they need left-handed pitching depth in the minor leagues. So what they did is they traded with San Diego Padres. They traded for left-handed pitcher Blake Dickerson. Blake Dickerson, he was drafted less than a year ago, 2023, 12th round overall. He's a big 6'6", southpaw. He's got a lot more potential, a lot more to get out of his long, lanky, left-handed body. But he played with Max Clark, Tigers' top prospects, Max Clark and shortstop Kevin McGonigal with Team USA. So they got experience together. He's got upside. What they really needed was
bit of chemistry together.
They just needed more left-handed pitching in their minor league system. There's a lot of their best young players are star righties. So adding this guy, it was a trade for $500,000 in international bonus pool money, which we don't need to get in the weeds, but that helps. That helps the San Diego Padres. They were a little. They needed some extra cash for their international signing pool. We'll leave it at that.
Our Detroit Tigers beat writer reporter, everybody, Matthew Broder.
Hey-o.
The Red Wings, they bounced back. 5-0 victory over the Calgary Flames.
This was huge.
We have the playoff chase back on track, man. This was a big game.
It was huge. This is James Reimer coming out of not coming out of nowhere. He's had 30 shutouts in his career, but the Red Wings, they've been it's hard to say they've been struggling when their last 2 losses has been against Edmonton and Vancouver, but they've gotten beat pretty good. So for him to come out, Reimer to come out and have a big shutout, 38 saves after Husso gets injured, after Alex Lyon gets beat up a little bit. Yeah. That was massive. Yep. Patrick Kane had 2 points and a goal and assist. They looked good out there. And Alex Reimer, or James Reimer, excuse me, his first period, when I watched it back, his first period, he made some incredible saves. There was a time where Calgary could have easily gone up 2-3-0. Could have been a completely different game, but he shut them down, and then shut them out for the rest of the game. But that's what we talked about as well.
You know, a hot goalie can make all of the difference, man. When you have that hot goalie, we've seen the Red Wings go on some playoff runs because the goalie was, what they say, standing on his head.
Let's go.
You know, and so hopefully they continue to get this type of play as they march into this playoffs. It would be great to see this happen this year, especially for the Yzer plan, for the players that are here, for the talent that they have, and I believe that it helps to bolster things moving forward. I know a lot of people, I saw Patrick Kane's goal. You think people are happy with that acquisition?
Yeah.
I think they are, man.
And his goal was incredible. Snipe from not necessarily the blue line, but from pretty deep. But then his assist to Dylan Larkin, there's something about those two operating together. They're just savvy veterans. And for him to make that pass to Larkin right in front of the goal, it was so sweet. So next game up, 3:30 today, 3:30 p.m. against the Seattle Kraken.
Let's go, man. And we got to, before we go to break.
Yeah.
We don't want to be unfair. I know that we are largely Michigan men, especially Mr. Matt Broder himself here.
Hey-o.
We also got a Michigan State man here. Shout out to JB the GOAT. And we got KG, man.
Shout out, boys.
Listen, they're elite. They're elite, man. Shout out to them as well. But Michigan State, and Kenny's over there. He was just shaking his head in disdain, man. Michigan State, they sweep University of Michigan, man. They swept them this season. They win at the Chrysler Center in Ann Arbor, 73-63.
Yeah, and
if Flannel was here, was here, we would be hearing the cries for fire Jawan Howard.
Yeah, this game encapsulates the entire season. Like the Wolverines were in it. They were losing by 2 at halftime. Yep. Even with like 13 minutes to go in the second half, I think they were up 53-47. And then just out of nowhere, Michigan ties the game at 63 with 7 minutes to go after a 7-2 run. They don't score a point the rest of the game. They end up losing 73-63. It was a mess.
It's what this season has been, and it's horrible, man. I don't
mess.
There was a little bit of social media controversy between some of the Michigan State players who don't even play basketball and a former University of Michigan basketball player who no longer goes to U of M, and Hunter Dickinson and Jordan Hall. That was a weird one, man. But it did blow up. It caught the attention of social media at least, though.
Yeah, beef. It was Jordan Hall as a freshman linebacker for the Michigan State Spartans football team. Hunter Dickinson, former Michigan basketball player, now current Kansas center. He said Jordan Hall had posted something to his Instagram, trolling Juwan Howard, making some pictures, some meme. And Hunter Dickinson claps back, says, I don't think the sport that lost 49-0 should be involved in trolling. He has a point. I don't mind Hunter Dickinson staying out of it completely. Jordan Hall probably should have stayed out of it completely, but
why is a Spartan fan on the show over there chuckling at that, yo? He said it was just funny.
It was. At least he wasn't wearing a ski mask. At least Hunter Dickinson wasn't masked up.
Man, you know what? Michigan, I know that when John Beilein was kind of going through a stretch, Michigan football was down, and a lot of Michigan fans said, you know what, we're a basketball school. Look at what we're doing. They had stretches where they were outperforming Michigan State. They had stretches where they were getting more of these kind of Sweet 16s, more of these Final Fours, more of these Elite Eights than Michigan State. And now that things have shifted, I am so glad as a Michigan fan that national championship in football came through, because this aspect of Michigan basketball, which I believe a lot of people kind of in this era, in this generation, they fell in love with Michigan basketball. You're talking about recruits like Trey Burks, recruits like Hardaway,
Tim Hardaway Jr.,
like
Glenn
Karis
Robinson,
LeVert,
Karis LeVert, Stu Douglas.
that they coached up.
Mitch McGarry.
John Beilein was able to go and find guys in JUCO and D3 and coach these guys up. You're talking about people who play with a certain level of passion, a certain level of care, a certain level of we will work until we get what we're here to achieve. And now you see this squad that has supposedly the superstar NBA coach. You got this kind of cast that's supposed to be a little bit better recruited, a few more stars on the roster, and they're not able to kind of sniff the jockstrap of the John Beilein era, man.
Can't do it. Can't win with them. We are, as we get closer to March Madness, not that there's a lot to talk about Michigan-wise, but Zach Novak is coming on the show. Yeah, get signed up. He played when I was in school there. Zach Novak, Stu Douglas. He had some moments against Michigan State basketball, blood running down his eye. That was the team that gave us so much pride as Michigan fans, as Michigan students. Having a team like that, like you just described, John Beilein building that program up, a bunch of 2-3-star players developing into NBA pros.
Yep,
Special.
It's a tough pill to swallow, man.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like Michigan is the type of institution that every year they should be in play both in basketball and in football. They really should. It shouldn't be a situation to where, and I know this year hasn't been kind to them in hockey as well, facing Michigan State, but it shouldn't be a situation where Michigan fans clap back with on every other year like, well, football and hockey is doing good. Come on, man.
We all got to be
consistent. As much as we champion the Fab Five, as much as fans champion that era, as much as we know what John Beilein grew up, let's be consistent. Let's raise the standard, man. JB, kudos to Michigan State Spartans. We got to make sure that we cover all of these teams.
Yeah, shout out. Tyson Walker at 19 points. Malik Hall at 18 points. Those two led the way. Some of those Malik Hall's got to me, I haven't watched a ton of him. He's got NBA potential. It seems like sometimes he's out there. He should be dominating. We'll see how he develops.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Well, you know what?
We're up against
talked about beef, man, between Hunter Dickinson and Jordan Hall. I got to tell you guys about beef. For over 60 years, Ferry Packing Co. has provided Michigan's finest restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef, Wagyu beef, and dry-aged beef. Experience the Fairway difference for yourself today. Visit the steak shop in Grosse Pointe Woods for grab-and-go steaks or order online at fairwaypacking.com.
Feel alive during Feldman Chevrolet's biggest New Year's sales event ever. Get the best prices on our huge selection of award-winning Chevrolets. Like this 2024 Equinox for $188 per month. Or this 2024 Silverado for $268 per month. It's the New Year's sales event going on now at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. They were talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
We've just received word. The world's cannabis supply has vanished. The public is outraged and has taken to the streets in response to this tragedy. The individual responsible acted alone, and we can only hope they will make things right soon.
Planet Fitness, you can get energy without the judgment.
Hi, can you help me with this?
You don't know how to use it?
This is better.
Join now through January 19th for just 24 cents down, $10 a month. Never intimidating, always free fitness training and equipment for every workout. Join today during the Big Fitness Energy Sale for 24 cents down, $10 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal extended through January 19th.
Over 50 Metro Detroit locations.
What up, though, Detroit? Welcome back to Wake Up Woodward. We are live from Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. That is Feldman Chevrolet of Novi. You guys see this car that I'm going to go home with today? You said that's part of the agreement, right?
Oh, yeah. You want the blue? I thought you were going gray.
I go with the gray one.
Okay,
I'll this one for you.
I'll get the go blue, baby.
You know, go blue. You know what? I like that.
Hey, by the way, real quick, shout out Dante.
Yeah.
Dante151, thanks for the $9.99 donation, my guy. You know Michigan's men's basketball sucks when CMU has more wins and has a better chance to make March Madness. Michigan's 8-18, while Central is 15-10.
Bro, why?
Oh, yeah.
Good morning to you too, Dante. My goodness. That hurts my soul. Shout out to our Central brother-in-law. I know our guy Terry Foster, man. So he's got to be pretty fired up about that.
I see what you did there. You're good. I'm starting to catch on at some of your little under-the-radar comments. Fire up chips.
Fire up chips,
Let's go.
That's it. But you know what? Talking Detroit Pistons is usually a snooze fest because of how poorly they're doing. But we do got a legend that we got to talk about. Chauncey Billups.
Big shot.
And I know we got a packed show today. We're going to talk about the Detroit Lions and what some of the national pundits are saying about them still being major contenders. So we got that segment coming up in a little bit. We got to talk about free agent cornerback L'Jarius Sneed. We're going to start profiling different potential free agent targets, as well as Jared Goff if he's a top priority. But Chauncey Billups, you guys, Chauncey Billups, and I think that this is long overdue and is very, very well deserved. He's been named a finalist for the NBA Hall of Fame. I'm hoping that he does get in to that Hall of Fame. I believe he deserves a call. You talk about who some people call maybe not the best player on that squad, maybe not the best scorer on that squad, but to me, he was the leader. He was the engine that made it go. Larry Brown was very, very clear about the type of point guard that he needed Chauncey Billups to be for this team to reach its full-on potential and to be able to sacrifice your game for the betterment of everybody else on that team, and honestly for the entire city of Detroit and the state of Michigan to be able to bring a championship to Detroit, and not just a championship. Not just a championship. Am I hearing the gong? It sounds like Ben Wallace's gong above us, but it's like right on point. It's right on point. Yeah,
I like it. That's
perfect. It's perfect.
Billups.
Yeah, it's like everything that Chauncey Billups did to be able to put this team in a position. You know, we can talk about the championship because that's going to be the feather in the cap, but we can also talk about the 6 straight Eastern Conference Finals appearances. We can talk about the rivalries and how they carried themselves, how they fought. We can talk about the second championship appearance when they were right on the cusp of going back-to-back against the San Antonio Spurs. Chauncey Billups absolutely deserves this. Absolutely deserves this. And I wanted to be able to talk about some of your favorite moments, some of you all's favorite moments as it relates to Chauncey Billups and some of mine. I feel like the moment for Chauncey Billups has to be in obviously 2004 when he won the championship and who was the Finals MVP?
That's right.
Chauncey Billups. Seeing him being able to kind of handle both of those trophies, man, it was almost like it was fitting. It was a fitting end to that run for Chauncey Billups, and I believe it was awesome to see how excited his teammates were about him being named that. But one of my favorite moments, though, if we're not taking the championship, I told you I would save it for the show. One of my favorite moments.
Live reaction.
Right? Listen, do you guys remember the playoff series, and my bad for not remembering the year, but the playoff series against T-Mac and the Orlando Magic?
Was it 2002?
I feel like it was 2002.
It was just before Tayshaun Prince, or was it Tayshaun Prince?
Tayshaun was there.
Okay, so it was 2003, his rookie year, where he came alive, which is why they couldn't draft, or why they decided not to draft Carmelo.
Yeah, which we're going to talk about that one.
I wrote a paper on that in college, by the way.
It hurt all of us.
Tayshaun Prince set the Pistons franchise back 10 years because of how good he played in that playoffs.
Oh my
Think about that.
That's a head spin, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But Tracy McGrady's famous words when they were up, 3-1 on the Detroit Pistons in the first round, and he stated, "It feels good to finally be able to move on to the second round." That was something that was on Tracy McGrady's conscience because he could never find a way, no matter how talented his teams were, no matter how good he played, to find his team get to that next round. And what the Pistons did from that standpoint after, between what Tayshaun Prince did from a defensive standpoint against Tracy McGrady, allowing the Pistons to be able to play straight up across the board, and what Chauncey Billups did to lead that team, to score, to be Mr. Big Shot, and lead this team back. it was one of my absolute favorite moments. I liked Chauncey Billups. After that, I fell in love with who Chauncey Billups was as a player, as a competitor, as a leader, as a point guard, man. Chauncey Billups was that deal, especially if you understand everything before that. The 6 years prior to becoming a Detroit Piston, Chauncey Billups was this point guard or this combo guard that nobody really knew where to fit when he was with Boston, when he was with Minnesota Timberwolves. They didn't quite understand, who is this guy? Is he a point guard? Is he a scorer? Does he know how to lead? Is he a facilitator? And he was basically left on the scrap heaps. And for Tracy McGrady to kind of make those comments and think, I'm going to leave this guy on the scrap heaps, and for him to be able to step up and say, you know what, this is not how it's going down, man, that moment is one of the best for me as it relates to Chauncey Billups saying, there we go, man.
Look at that.
There we go.
Bring him home.
With that Detroit. I love it, man.
Bring him home. No, I love that. And I love the fact that a player like Chauncey is getting love, is getting recognition, hopefully makes it into this first class, Hall of Fame class that he's nominated for.
Yep.
Because I don't know where he stacks up statistically, but it's the leadership, the intangibles, getting the Detroit Pistons back into a place in the NBA where they belong at the top. You talked about 6 straight Eastern Conference appearances. That's consistent winning. Like there's something special about that. My favorite moment, it was the same year as they hoisted that trophy, and although the game didn't lead to a win, the game didn't end with a win, when they were down 88-85, Game 5 of the 2004 Eastern Conference semifinals against Jason Kidd and the New Jersey Nets. Kerry Kittle.
Nemesis from a point guard standpoint, too.
What was that?
Jason Kidd, really his nemesis in the Eastern Conference from a point guard standpoint.
Yes, they would meet each year. It was Jason Kidd, Richard Jefferson, Kerry Kittles, Kenyon Martin. That squad versus the Pistons.
I hated those teams.
They had some run-ins. Kerry Kittles had just went 1 of 2 from the free throw line. Could have iced it. 88-85, Chauncey Billups comes down just under 3 seconds left. Pulls up the half court. Here it is. 3, 2, 1. Off the backboard. Sends it into overtime. Ended up going to 3 overtimes. This is one of the best games I've ever watched. Goes into 3 overtimes. The Pistons end up winning this game. But there was something magical about that shot, something magical about this game. Ended up winning the series, winning the NBA championship versus that Lakers team that featured Karl Malone, Gary Payton, Kobe Bryant, and Shaquille O'Neal.
Yep.
The Diesel.
But I feel like in a lot of ways that game right there helped to set up future success for this team to kind of be involved, because the Nets were a powerhouse during that time, man. The Nets and the Pacers were 2 teams that, as the Pistons continued to build up to that 2004 crescendo, it seemed as if they just couldn't get past some of these teams, man. And when they finally kind of did that, I was like, you know what? This team is beatable. These Nets are beatable. The Detroit Pistons have an opportunity in this Eastern Conference to definitely rise to the occasion. Mm-hmm. And they ultimately did.
Yeah.
They ultimately did.
Against the classic, the Lakers. And I know they were a little past their prime, the Gary Paytons and the mailman, but the fact that it was still a Lakers, that you got to knock off Shaq and Kobe and that relationship, there's something just iconic about that. I will always remember that.
Always will, man. Shout out to Chauncey Billups, man. The GOAT of GOAT point guards. Isaiah Thomas, and then Chauncey Billups in Detroit lore.
Facts.
That's how it goes. That's how it goes. But congratulations again to Chauncey Billups. I'm hoping that he gets in. I think that he's more than deserving. Kind of seeing some of the other finalists, I believe his chances are pretty good, man.
I hope so. We're rooting for him.
Yep. Hey, JB, man, what's one of your favorite moments, man? I'll tell the people. Chauncey Billups.
It just had to be that one, the one Broder just said, because
Let's go.
I still from this day remember where I was at with the whole thing as well too. So I was at my grandmother's house watching this game, and honestly, my mom was a huge Pistons fan as well too. So we're just sitting there, just hoping that we could at least just make it past, or at least out of this round and beat this game. And this game went on for 3 overtimes, but just seeing that shot go in. Like, I just remember us all celebrating in the living room like, we had just won the NBA Finals, but obviously, But still, that was a hell of a moment. So, KG, you got anything?
Yeah, man, what's your Chauncey Billups moment?
Puff, puff, pass.
Well, I mean, y'all taking me back, man, with some of these. I mean, it's been so long, it's hard to remember specific moments, but I can tell you what my least favorite moment was when he got traded to the Denver Nuggets.
Oh, my heart.
Oh, my God. That was like the beginning of the end of the going to work
Not
Pistons.
the answer.
We all know how it played out from there. They kept the core together a little bit too long after that. Then you saw Ben Wallace leave, and then we had the whole thing with Tayshaun and everything. So that was Chauncey going to the Nuggets, man. That was kind of heartbreaking.
For Iverson, right? Wasn't Iverson in that trade? He came over from the Nuggets?
Was he? I think, was it that specific trade? I think so. It might have been.
I think so.
You said which one?
Chauncey Billups to Denver. Didn't Iverson come over?
Came to Detroit.
Yeah.
Ben Wallace, I think he left
went
first
to Chicago
because they refused. They didn't pay him.
Oh,
it was
yeah,
over like
you're
a
right,
few
you're right.
$1 million.
Yep.
And then they traded Chauncey Billups, and it was just like, and you know what made that even worse is that they traded him because they believed that Rodney Stuckey was next up. Are you kidding me?
Many men.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You talk about heartbreak, man. That was a gut punch.
It was. It was
punch.
Billups and Antonio McDyess. Not Philly Iverson.
And then he went to Denver and proved, I still got it.
Yeah.
I still got it. He elevated those Denver Nugget teams to a level they weren't at when they had just Carmelo Anthony and Allen Iverson.
The only reason they didn't get anywhere is because of George Karl, man. George Karl just being about himself and not really about the team. Man, but yeah, that Nuggets team was stacked, man. You had Melo, Kenyon, Martin, Chauncey. Oh, man, it was
you're right.
J.R. Smith, young J.R. Smith. They had a squad.
That's the one thing I will never quite understand about Joe Dumars being the architect of that 04 team, but also being one of those guys who he did trade Chauncey. He didn't do what was necessary to retain Ben Wallace.
Right.
He was trying to trade Richard Hamilton for Kobe Bryant. It was like, yo, this core, this nucleus that you put together, sometimes just let that ride. Let the good times flow, man. Sometimes you just have to let this team that you put together, and it was a stroke of genius. Him being involved with the bad boys, I would have thought that would have played a lot more into keeping together this kind of nucleus that you identified. Because you can't go out there and manufacture the chips. You can't go out there and manufacture this kind of Detroit grit. You can't go out there and manufacture what that 2014 had. You look at them to this day. Even after they all kind of, Rasheed went his separate way, Ben Wallace was in Chicago, and then with the Cavs, Chauncey Billups was out with Denver. Every time those guys got an opportunity to be together and prove that they were truly brothers. Tayshaun Prince, even these guys did that. You saw them all come back and support for some of the jersey retirements. You see them come back when they celebrated over the years the 2004 championship. And you still see them on social media to this day proving that what that nucleus was, it couldn't have been broken up just because of the trades. It hurt us.
It did.
It definitely hurt us as fans, and I know it hurt them as players, but they continue to go on and prove to kind of be those guys, man.
Yeah, I don't remember all the contract details, but Dad with Tourette's brings up a good point. Billups' contract was necessary to move. But they messed it up anyway. Herb Nash follows up. In their prime, AI was better, but Chauncey had better chemistry. 100%. AI is one of the best. I want to say pound for pound, one of the best players of all time. Of
course.
One of the best scorers.
When he got here, it was over, though.
Yeah. Totally different fit, totally different timing.
Greektown Casino, he ain't care about this.
Exactly. More questions than answers.
Oh, man.
Marcus Camby.
Marcus Camby.
Yeah, Marcus Camby was on. They had a squad, man.
Yep.
Brian Roos says, why did Grant Hill ever have to get hurt?
That's a tough one, too.
People forget Grant Hill was going to be the next Jordan. Like, that was who they were talking about. Was going to be the player who takes over for MJ.
Yeah.
Didn't work out.
That was all the talk of the league, and he was getting all of the endorsements. He was somebody on a national level that we really hadn't seen, accepted too, that we hadn't seen out of an NBA, out of a Detroit Pistons star. When you talk about the bad boys, they weren't necessarily loved outside of the city of Detroit. But when you talk about Grant Hill being that next level player, that not just an all-star player, but a superstar level player, that was awesome. You saw him in McDonald's commercials, Sprite commercials, the shoes, the jerseys. It was actually my first NBA jersey and shoe combo that I bought ever.
Let's go.
I didn't buy it, but shout out to my grandma, man, R.I.P. It was the first ones, and I cherish those to this day. I think I feel a little bit less after the injuries, but still, man, at that time, I absolutely loved it, man.
Definitely. By the way, who just walked by, that was Francis, one of the sales folks here at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. He leased me my Midnight Edition Blazer about 5-6 months ago. This is where you got to come to get your Chevy needs. Feldman Chevrolet in Novi. Check them out. What do we got coming up next? We're going to be talking Lions. We got some Tigers on the docket. But we got to read here. I'm going to need you guys. Let me know what's next. JB, KG.
You know what?
What are we doing right now? Huh? Planet Fitness. Let me tell you about Planet Fitness. I was there yesterday. I actually made it to Planet Fitness twice this weekend. For $10 a month, you got all the essentials to get the exact workout you need. Neil Rule is probably there right now, halfway through his decathlon, not climbing the rock wall, but Planet Fitness, they got all kinds of equipment. It's a judgment-free zone. You can tan. You can use the Hydra massage bed. What I like the most about it, it is clean. Every single Planet Fitness I've been in is clean. That's what I want out of my gym. I love it. Check them out. Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
Have you ever wondered where all the finest restaurants get their steaks? It's Fairway Packing Company, providing Michigan restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef for over 60 years. But now you can buy these cuts of meat for yourself at the Steak Shop by Fairway Packing Company. Prime porterhouse, A5 Japanese New York strip steak, dry aged Wagyu beef tomahawk. Delicious. Get to the Steak Shop today. Enjoy fine wine, have a private party, and get the finest cuts of meat anywhere. The Steak Shop on Mack Avenue in Grosse Pointe Woods, or order online, fairwaypacking.com.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
At Planet Fitness, you can get energy without the judgment.
Hi, can you help me with this?
You don't know how to use it?
This is better.
Join now through January 19th for just 24 cents down, $10 a month. Never intimidating, always free fitness training and equipment for every workout. Join today during the Big Fitness Energy Sale for 24 cents down, $10 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal extended through January 19th.
Over 50 Metro Detroit locations.
Thank you to all the fans for making Woodward Sports your #1 online destination for Detroit sports. We promise not to drop the ball.
Hey, man, listen, I know y'all tired of the same old Detroit sports merch. I know you got that old 2004 championship Piston shirt. I know you still hanging on to it because that's the only hope we have. But look, man, y'all can check us out at woodwardsports.com/shop. We got hoodies, we got hats, we got tees, all the latest styles and trends to get you fresh and right for the game. So come visit us at woodwardsports.com/shop.
The Pistons are just catching all types of strays this morning. What up, though, Detroit? Welcome back. It is Wake Up Woodward. We're at Michigan's #1 Chevy dealership as well, man. Feldman Chevrolet of Novi. And you guys see here, this is Broder's car he's leaving with today.
Yeah.
Got my car over there as well.
Gray.
Hey. Yeah.
There's a convertible past the gray one. They got some nasty cars here today.
Sick cars, man. And I see people in the chats already talking about, yo, these cars are sexy. I love that color blue. I like that, man.
I like that.
You want to tell them how they can get theirs?
Yeah, it's 42355 Grand River out here in Novi, Michigan. You can also call up Mark Murray, sales consultant, cell number 208-370-4848. They got an awesome crew here, help you get all of your car needs. Come in here, ask some questions, they'll get you out same day. I see cars all over this place. They definitely got cars on the lot. Check them out, Feldman Chevrolet.
Now, look. We got to talk about the Detroit Lions. Obviously, that's going to be.
There's Mark, by the way. Sorry.
Everybody say hi to Mark. Put some highs in the chat for Mark.
Hi, Mark.
But definitely, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, he actually ranked he kind of had these tiers. They was ranking a lot of the teams in the NFL as we head into this offseason. He has still major contenders, need a postseason breakthrough, teetering contenders, headed on the right track. And I'm not going to read all of them. But our Detroit Lions.
Yes.
Where do you think they were at?
I know where they were at. So I hope that most people would say that they're still on that contenders tier. They're now putting that mix with the top teams in both the NFC and the AFC to compete for a Super Bowl next season.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's why we've continued to, since the end of the season, since we saw exactly what this team has, the consistency that they're bringing back, not just amongst the coaches but among the players, and the fact that they were able to do this. Remember, leading up to the trade deadline, there were a lot of people who thought that the Detroit Lions needed to do more to be able to maximize their window to even make it to an NFC championship game. But clearly, Brad Holmes had a better pulse on what was going on, and he did not tie this team's kind of future up into any type of reactionary signing or trade or anything of that nature. He kind of stuck to his guns, and he decided, you know what, we're going to fix this thing or add to this thing, but we're going to achieve this year. Yeah. And I absolutely love that belief. And what we're seeing from a lot of the national pundits and media as well is what we've been stating as well. This Detroit Lions team is still major contenders. Now, the way he listed it was the Ravens first, the Lions second, the Chiefs third, and San Francisco 49ers fourth. I don't know if he put that in that particular order as his ranking.
I think I'm just going to go on a limb and say it was alphabetical, starting with Baltimore, Detroit, Kansas City, San Francisco. But we'll take it. We'll go with the second.
We'll take it.
And I put it up. This was a Jeremy Fowler list. I made it on a little tier maker. I just put it on this beautiful graphic that JB just put up. So there's your tiers these are the tiers that Jeremy Fowler put out there. So for reference to people watching.
Yep. And I want to be able to read what he was saying, too. The offensive line is among the league's best. The skill positions are loaded, and the defensive front seven is among the best against the run. Detroit is here to stay. Extending quarterback Jared Goff, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later. He says will be a top priority, but continuing to improve the secondary should be paramount. Wide receiver Amon St. Brown and right tackle Penei Sewell are eligible for extensions, and the money allocated to those two could affect whether the team can bring back free agent guard Jonah Jackson. Still major contenders. What's your first thought as it relates to what you believe this Detroit Lions team needs to do to cash in on this national belief?
Just keep doing what they're doing. Like don't give in to the pressures, which Brad Holmes, to his credit, he hasn't done that so far. But don't give in to the pressures of making a signing just because we all want him to go out and sign maybe a L'Jarius Sneed, maybe a Danielle Hunter. There are guys out there I would love for them to be in Detroit Lions gear, but Brad Holmes needs to make the decision that's best for this team, not just in 2024, but also moving forward. Finding that balance of winning now, going for it. You got a chance. Like we had a chance this past season. He hung tight. Maybe he gives a little bit more coming up, but the philosophy, the recipe of building with your homegrown talent, drafting well, and developing those guys, I just hope he sticks to that at his core.
Yeah, and David Tourette's asks, what's the list for? Again, Jeremy Fowler was going through from ESPN and ranking, putting different teams into tiers in terms of how he believed they would perform this season or what the expectations should be. And the Detroit Lions he put in the still major contenders category. And he gave a list of things as to why he believes they're there. And I think one of the more kind of interesting aspects of this was everything that the Detroit Lions already have on the roster is what excites him about who he believes they're going to be over this next year. And then they have the opportunity both in the draft where they have potentially, at least 7 draft picks, give or take if they trade or something, as well as the cap space to be able to go and lock things down. I know in our next segment we're going to talk about potential free agent target of Detroit Lions cornerback L'Jarius Sneed.
Boom.
But with this Detroit Lions to kind of stay at this contender status, I do believe that they're going to have to do more than just run it back with the players that they have, man.
Right.
From your kind of expert opinion, from like what you've seen out of this team and where you think they need to go, I'm ready for it, man. Let me know what you think they need to do to cash in on this major contenders.
Defense. They need to bolster this defense. They need to add many pieces, both on the defensive line and in the secondary to shore up that defense. That was the one thing that really held this Detroit Lions team back or wasn't enough to get them over the hump. Granted, the offense fell apart in the second half of the San Francisco 49ers game too, but leading up to that point, it was the defense that made it tough for that offense. They had a formula that worked. I don't want to say it didn't work because they won 12 games during the season, and they were able to make up for a somewhat brutal secondary, especially in the second half, a defensive line in the first half of the season that wasn't getting much pressure on the quarterbacks, wasn't getting many sacks, so they made up for it. So defense has to be their number one priority, both in the draft and free agency. But the other part about it too, they got to reinforce their strength, which is their offensive line. They got to make sure, whether it's through re-signing Jonah Jackson or Graham Glasgow, or maybe you're extending Taylor Decker. Maybe I'm going to get into that in a little bit. You give Taylor Decker an extension to open up some cap space. This year, he's got 1 year left on his deal. There are things they can do, but I think especially in the draft, going and bolstering that offensive line with some interior offensive linemen, to me, you just got to make sure your strength stays your strength. Yeah. And it's going to get difficult as you start paying people, as Penei Sewell becomes the richest offensive lineman in NFL history. You got to find a way to spread that wealth, but making sure, especially if you're going to extend Jared Goff, that's 10 times even more of a reason why you got to make sure that offensive line is top 5 in the NFL.
Do you think that factored at all into Brad Holmes' strategy at the trade deadline of seeing, can we get it done with these guys right here? Because we know they have several young guys that are going to get paid here soon, as well as this past draft class that you look down the road a couple years from now, they're going to need to be getting paid as well. Do you believe that factored into exactly why he didn't make any moves and what this free agency ahead is going to look like too?
I think so. We can only speculate because it's Brad Holmes, and who knows? He's thinking years in advance, but I think so because what people were calling for were defensive reinforcements. The Chase Youngs, who's the other guy? Montez Sweat. They were looking to help Aiden Hutchinson out on the defensive line. Really, all they did was add Donovan Peoples-Jones, a wide receiver from Cleveland. So I think partly was he did believe in this group. Say, it might be difficult, but there's a chance. Hey, looking back on the Super Bowl this year, if they got to that game, which they were minutes away from getting to, they were 1/2 away from getting to the Super Bowl, we all think they would still have a shot to beat the Chiefs, if they were representing the NFC. So the team that they had enough, and he didn't want to sacrifice either draft capital this season going after a Montez Sweat or a Chase Young, but also having to pay them a contract extension. So he didn't want to go the rental route. I don't know all the ins and outs of the salary cap and what they're planning, but he held back because he trusted in this team, trusted in this coaching staff to continue to develop them. It didn't work out, unfortunately. They didn't make it to the Super Bowl, but now the world is their oyster. They're in the top 7 of salary cap space going into the 2024 season. We got a lot of time now to figure out what's Brad Holmes going to do. How do they make this not just a complete team in 2024, but continue to build that sustainable team for 3-4 years down the line while Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, Penei Sewell, Sam Laporta, Gibbs, all these guys reach their prime because they're not there yet.
They're not there
They're not
yet.
in their prime yet. They're just getting started.
And that's the crazy part, too. It's like they were able to depend on and believe in. I don't think for one second that Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, and these players believed, you know what, we're just going to have a good season. Let's try and go out there and win one playoff game. Now, us as fans, I know we were waiting for a playoff win because of how long it's been. I know that we were waiting on what the division title would mean if they won that because of how long it's been. But everything that was being said by the players, everything that was being said by the coaches, everything pointed towards them believing they were going to have some type of longevity as it relates to their playoff run. And they absolutely proved that. I can't see, as the type of guy that we see Brad Holmes to be, that his decision was made to kind of sit at the trade deadline and depend on the players they already have and the young players they already have. No part of me believes that he thought, you know what, just so we can try and go out there and win one playoff game.
Right.
I do believe that he believes in this team, the players he's picked, the players he signed. And even though we might be wondering, like, why is Cam Sutton out there guarding one-on-one? We need Aiden Hutchinson to get home to the quarterback a little bit better. I do believe that regardless of everything we saw and any of the complaints we had, that he did believe in what this team was going to do that year, this past season. I think that was it. When you listen to C.J. Gardner-Johnson talk about the fact that he was on a 1-year deal and he was saying, I was brought here so we can get to the Super Bowl. This is our aspiration, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. That's what makes me comfortable with who Brad Holmes is, especially you talk about not just in terms of his talent evaluation, but the overall fit and feel to this team as well. The ability to go and instead of necessarily going and getting that acquisition at the trade deadline, whatever changes they made from a defensive scheme standpoint helped to put this team in a much better spot defensively than they had been. And one of the things that you said that I absolutely love, and I believe that the Lions, this is how they started their restore or their rebuild to their prominence that they're at now, was by bolstering the position that they were closest to being elite at, and that was the offensive side of the ball. We knew that we could depend on them. And OKG's talked about it as well. We could depend on them, even after mistakes. There were so many times this season where we did see. First, Jared Goff started kind of with this string of no interceptions. And then when he had that first interception, I believe everybody was like, oh, boy, are the wheels going to fall off? Jared Goff continued to be an individual, though, who would come back after that and say, you know what, let's get down the field and let's score. So much so that in resiliency as well. That Bears game comes to mind as well. Resiliency. I do hope that they go out this offseason and don't rest on their laurels, but they actually say, you know what, even though the defense needs to take a step forward this offseason, I'm hoping that making this offensive unit that much more elite, whether it's pass catchers, whether it's making sure, like you said, to kind of bolster and build up this offensive line, getting, I believe, Jared Goff some more help, just overall, dynamically, speed, size at the receiver position. Maybe another
that's with
tight
for me
end.
Size. Like if you can get a big receiver, that's maybe the one need I think. But I totally get I smell what you're stepping in, Kool-Aid.
Yeah, because it's about keeping this team at the position that they're currently at, but not just that. Because I don't want this squad to plateau. I don't believe that Detroit fans are in a position where we're just like, oh, that was cute, that was cool. We can just kind of play around with making the playoffs. I don't really want to be the Dallas of the Midwest. I don't want to be that. I want every year when we talk about there being aspirations that this team has done what they need to do off the field and on the field, in training camp, in season, in the front office as well as in the free agency as well as in the draft, and that they're doing everything that they need to make sure they're continuing to move this thing and this train forward. This squad, I believe, is getting to the point with the collection of talent they have that they're able to carry. And I think this season is going to help with that, give them this feather in their cap to kind of carry this that swag. Like they know that they belong. That's what I loved ultimately about Penei Sewell.
Yes.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, Dan Campbell. I know a lot of people made a big noise about Dan Campbell the first half of his statement saying, you know, it's really tough to get back here. Is that where he stopped, though? No, that's not where he stopped. All their intentions is about the fact that they feel like they dropped the ball and that they're ready to get back because they know where they were supposed to be at this season.
Yes.
Now they get an opportunity to be able to bolster that.
That's the best part about winning those playoff games, having the success they did, winning the NFC North. You got all that out of the way. Like those were the humps to really get over. Now they can focus on football. They know they're a team that belongs. Jeremy Fowler is showing that he believes they're a team that belongs. And I think other national media pundits are going to start saying the same thing, that, hey, they weren't just a fluke in 2023. This team's the real deal. They're building this the right way. And it's not a Patrick Mahomes situation where you can let your quarterback sort of stand out on an island and really just carry things throughout the season and pump all your resources into the defense. You got to split up and build an offensive line for Jared Goff and give him weapons. But the Chiefs showed you the power of having a good defense when it matters the most. That's what not only got them to the playoffs, but that's what stopped Lamar Jackson in the AFC Championship game, and that's what shut down Brock Purdy and the 49ers in the Super Bowl. KG, you got something to add?
Yeah, you guys hit it on the head, man. You got to not deviate from your plan, but I think he does need to make a move to put this team over the top, and I do think that move is on defense. But you don't want to go away from what you're doing. You do want to continue to draft young talent and get them under rookie contract because much like owning a car, it's better to own than to lease, you know. So you want to get young talent under contract that you can control, and that's only going to benefit us in the long run when we're trying to re-sign some of our own guys. It won't hurt us so much against the cap. But he has to make a big move to help this defense, I believe. I don't want him to necessarily break the bank, but we have to get a higher tier name, I feel like, to really push this thing forward. And, I think he's capable of that. We saw last year, he signed Cam Sutton, he signed Emmanuel Mosley. Then we thought it was, okay, he's done. We made all the moves there. And then, bam, C.J. Gardner-Johnson out of nowhere, So I think there's something that he is capable of. Everything that he's shown me to this point says that he wants to improve this defense. Already made 2 coaching additions and signed some future reserve contracts to the defense. So I expect him to really take this thing seriously going into this year and make a move that's going to put this team over the top.
Yeah, and I think he's doing it in a savvy way as well, where you have kind of these controllable young contracts so that we know their window is going to be open for 3 to 4 years. Yeah. That's why I believe that in this draft, defense might be the thing that they're absolutely focused on so that their window can be open, especially if his assessments, like the Brian Branches and the Jack Campbells of the world, if his assessment, the Aiden Hutchinsons, obviously, some people could say that pick fell in their lap, but we've seen the Lions blow those picks as well. Like
you got to make the pick.
Like the Jacksonville Jaguars did. You got to make the pick. You have to. I think that adding those types of players gives the Lions the ability to do more of what we saw them do. If you're adding more players that can have the same effect as some of our current draft picks on the defensive side of the ball, and then you're adding these one-year players to the roster, like maybe like a Mosley, maybe like a CJ, GJ, I believe that this team will be better equipped at that point in time to be able to kind of have that in its ecosystem year after year, so that a reload isn't necessarily having to go to the draft and overhaul things, but you're just kind of adding these finishing touches where you may need them best. Adding CJ, GJ to this team, adding some of the players there that they're probably going to look at one-year contracts, think about adding it to what they're going to do this free agency, when they're able to lock up a lot of their guys who are already on the squad, as well as some of the rookies that are still on rookie deals, some of the young guys that are still on their rookie contracts, and now you're able to go and add just maybe a one-year player, 2-year, a couple one-year players.
I think that's going to be the strategy. I think that's partly what Brad Holmes was teasing in his final press conference of the year. Just don't expect the biggest splash. I mean, it might happen, but don't what you see or what. Give me a moment. You know the marshmallow test? He was talking about the Take a moment. Let this simmer down. So you saw what I did in 2021. It takes a couple years to develop, but trust me. Trust this process. I do think it's the free agency class or the free agent acquisitions are going to be one-year deals. They're going to be shorter-term prove-it deals, give some veterans an opportunity to come in here. I love the idea of like a Brandon Graham, a Michigan native who's played his entire career in Philly, coming in, trying to help the Lions get over the hump, win a Super Bowl for his hometown team. He's a veteran that can help all these guys. We'll get into that later on, but I don't know. 1 to 2 year deals doesn't exactly fit what what Jarius Sneed is going to be looking for in free agency. That dude is looking for a big time contract.
What did he say? Pay me?
Pay me. He had a message for Brent Veach, said, pay me. Pay me.
Man. But we're going to have to talk about it next.
We do. We do.
JB, what do we have, man, before we talk about the Jarius Sneed?
Dispo, let me tell you about Dispo. They have a team that curates an exclusive atmosphere mixed with fresh inventory from a variety of Michigan products. They're located out in Romeo, in Ann Arbor. They're located all over the place. They got 18, 19, 20 locations, the largest cannabis mall, the first cannabis mall of its kind. Check them out. It's a new year. Same deals and the same plug. That's DispoShops.com, Dispo Dispensary, your local cannabis plug.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy?
It's Planet Fitness.
Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. They were talking to one another.
Woodward Sports. Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
You know what I want to start my day off with?
What?
A gingerbread shake from Big Boy. Forget the breakfast. I'm going straight to dessert. But they got apple pie pancakes. They got potato pancakes. They got the veal parmigiana. They got everything you could ever ask for. Santa Fe Garde, that's right. Way to remind me for that one. Big Boy really does have the down-home comfort food and potato pancakes. You got to go check them out. Go eat at Big Boy today. Hey, welcome back, man. It's Wake Up Woodward. What up, Detroit? The sun is shining. We're supposed to be getting up into the 50s this week, man. I'm down with that.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Is that shorts and T-shirt weather?
Yeah.
I don't think so, KG.
Hell no.
It's Michigan. This is why there's no All-Star game, no NBA All-Star game in Detroit or Super Bowl in Detroit. People outside of Detroit, they complain about the weather. But no, it's beautiful. This is springtime. I think it's National Tug of War Day, too. This is like Hootie Hoo Day. This is the day like 1 month out of – I was doing some research for some weird days coming up. We got a lot coming up here.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And you know what? With the draft coming here in Detroit, man, I'm actually looking forward to that a lot, man, the NFL draft. But free agency. We got to talk about free agency.
Yeah.
Look, we do our final grades, season grades. We profile players. We profile our breakout players. We're going to be getting into more of the draft profiles as well. But free agency is one of our profiles as well. And one of the players that I've kind of seen pop up in the chats, pop up in the comments, and as well as, you know, at a position that we would say is of need, cornerback L'Jarius Sneed. Sneed. Now, look.
Super Bowl champion, back-to-back Super Bowl champion.
Super Bowl champion. And he had a lot to do with why the Kansas City Chiefs and that defense was able to do what they do and why they continue to kind of be this menace on defense. Honestly, a little bit more than I expected them to be, man. And I do believe L'Jarius Sneed, you look at the way he talks, you look at the way he kind of jams the receivers, you look at how physical he is as a cornerback. And honestly, for me, it kind of is like, yo, I envy that. I really do. Now, I get it. The Detroit Lions played a certain style of defense. They didn't necessarily have what they wanted on that defensive line. And in the cornerback field, they had some major injuries, including C.J. G.J. We don't know exactly what he would have been in the defensive backfield if he was able to play the full season, as well as Emmanuel Mosley.
That's the
Cam
key.
Sutton was supposed to be here as what, like a CB2?
Yeah.
To Emmanuel Mosley's CB1.
Yeah.
And so we get it. We got some guys playing out of position. But when you look at a guy like L'Jarius Sneed, who's largely been able to kind of stay healthy, and you look at the fact that I had some stats here, man.
Let it fly.
You look at the fact that he surrendered the lowest completion percentage at 51% and his passer rating of 56.2% when being targeted in coverage. That's the type of stuff that dreams are made of when we're talking about team from one place to the next. When we're talking about going from not just finding ways to kind of make them serviceable, but taking this defensive unit that we're saying, hey, they've keyed in on the offense, and they took it from a place of good to what we could believe to be a strength of the squad, and taking the defense from a place of kind of serviceable and at least bringing them to good. What do you think about L'Jarius Sneed?
As a player, I think he'd be fantastic. They need – lockdown cornerback is one of their biggest needs. The question is whether L'Jarius Sneed's their guy, considering his skills, his age, his contract. Does he fit in this scheme with Aaron Glenn or who's ever going to be the DC next year? There's a lot of question marks, but from a talent perspective, from a player perspective, he's just about exactly what they need. 27 years old. He's about 6'2", 195 pounds. He started his career 2 seasons with the Chiefs playing mostly nickel, but then they moved him this year outside, more to the outside cornerback position, playing opposite Trent McDuffie. And he showed he's got lockdown cornerback capabilities. He shut down Justin Jefferson. He played well against some of the top receivers in the NFL. I'm a fan. And you know what? You talked earlier about the intangible, like having that extra edge. You like how he talks. He's also a 4th-round pick in 2020, just like Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a guy who just didn't get the love coming out of Louisiana Tech that maybe he wanted to, and he's developed into I don't know if I would go star, but he's headed that way. He's a stud cornerback.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
he's gonna have people looking for him. The Chiefs have the ability to franchise tag him. They could obviously sign him to a contract extension, but they could franchise tag him for about $19 million a year is what that franchise tag would be. You know, the Eagles, the Falcons, the Raiders, they're all supposed to make a move on him. It's just what is he going to try to seek out in the free agent market? I know he wants a long-term contract. It'll probably fall between the 16 and $19 million range. Spot Trek, I think, has him at $16.7 million a year. Some other things I've read put him in the $18.5 million per year. And that's so compared to Cam Sutton, he's making about $11 million a year as your CB2. So that would be $30 million into 2 cornerbacks. Then you got to make decisions on C.J. G.J., decisions on Emmanuel Mosley. He could probably get back for a cheap 1-year deal. But the question is L'Jarius Sneed your guy? And the last thing, I said all this great stuff about him. To me, I don't think he's the one. I think
Tell me about it, man.
I think he's going to be a little expensive. And to be honest, and I don't want to say this, I don't want to judge him for this, but his comments on Up in the Adams to Brent Veach about pay me. I love the swagger and the confidence. You need that to play the cornerback position.
Yep.
to me, it just doesn't feel like a fit for this Detroit Lions team. I can't picture any of the, even CJGJ's a talker. That he doesn't talk like that. He talks about wanting his role on the field and not wanting to compete out there, not about how much money he's going to make. They all want to make money.
Yeah.
For him to say it, and it was kind of joking. It was serious, but it was playful. There's just something about that doesn't rub me the wrong way, but doesn't seem like the Lions fit.
Especially while we're sitting here saying that we're hoping guys like Jared Goff and guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, who absolutely deserve to be paid for what they've done for this Detroit Lions team, when we're saying, hey, maybe those guys can give some sort of a hometown discount, I don't know how well that meshes with another player entering the building who would absolutely help the Detroit Lions.
He would.
Absolutely help Detroit. But how much more does he hurt them? In terms of the strategies that Brad Holmes has employed at making sure to have the kind of the right foundation here. And we continue to go back to the fact that they're going to have to pay some of these guys that are already here on the roster. You're talking about CB. How much are Emmanuel Mosley and Cam Sutton making combined? It would be less than what Snead is making.
Well, Emmanuel Mosley's a free agent now. He was making $6 million a year back in this past season, 2023. Cam Sutton making $11 million a year. C.J. Gardner-Johnson was $6.5 million. So, in those three players, about $23, $24 million. We got 4 games out of C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Emmanuel Mosley.
Yeah, but I still, in my opinion, you've made a compelling case, and it's not a difficult one to be able to see, especially if the trust is in what Brad Holmes has done and what we believe he can continue to do. I do trust his eye to kind of fit to the squad what's best. KG, I need your opinions on this thing, man.
Yes.
L'Jarius Sneed. We already know the talent he has. We understand that this guy is looking for he's looking for the bag.
Yeah.
He's looking for the bag. It's no secret. He would absolutely help this team in a big way. Well, how you feeling, man?
He'd be an instant upgrade, but I just don't think he's the guy either. I'm with lockstep with Broder on this. He's going to command just too much money, and going off Brad Holmes' track history, he's not just going to, roll that much money into, like you said, 2 corner positions.
Yeah.
We're already paying Cam Sutton. I know his was a multi-year deal, but it would be nice to have him because he does fit the AG system very well. Very good man coverage corner, playing the outside. That's exactly what we need going forward, but that price tag is just a little too hefty. Do I know if he's the right locker room fit? I'm not really sure. He doesn't strike me as like a selfish player by any means, but Brad Holmes is very intentional about the type of players they let into this locker room.
Yep.
They cherish that, they value that, and it's more than just past Lions regimes where they want it all choir boys. They legit know like the direction that they have in this locker room and where they want to go. Unfortunately, I just don't think he's it, but there are other options. There are cheaper alternatives that you can do, and there's also the draft that has a solid number of first-round cornerback talent. So I think he'll be able to work it out between those.
Yeah, Devin, and Corey Berry said that Brad will only get a splash guy if he thinks he's not mortgaging the future to do it.
Exactly.
And that brings up the question, is there one of those guys out there that you believe makes the most sense to sign to the Detroit Lions? And for me personally, the more and more that I think about it, compared to what we've seen Dan Campbell and these coaches do by coaching up young players, what we've seen Brad Holmes do by bringing in the right mix of talent. Mind you, we talk about the fact that Mosley and CJGJ got hurt for effectively the entire season. This team still performed very, very well. They were still able to scheme and coach up and be able to have each other's backs to the tune of an NFC Championship appearance, 12-5 in the season, winning the NFC North as well. Yeah. And like Matthew Stafford said, because someone asked, well, what are the Detroit Lions going to do next year when they're getting everybody's best shot? Matthew Stafford said, what do you mean? They got everybody's best shot in the playoffs, and you see how they performed there. They were ready for it, 20 minutes away from a Super Bowl.
They get bullied.
Yeah,
they're a young team. They didn't get bullied.
They didn't get bullied at all, man. Obviously, that second half against the 49ers, you want to talk about being in the moment, and we talked about that. We talked about what it means to have those players with that type of experience, and how our guys are getting that experience. They have that feel for it now. They have exactly how they know they felt after that game, and I believe it's going to be better for them in these coming years as well, trying to make it back to the top of this NFC North. But it's just like, man, the more and more I think about it, is there a free agent out there that's even worth going and just dropping the bag?
I don't
or
know
do
if
we
it's,
have those guys on our team already?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if there's one at the cornerback position, at least one that just really blows me away. He's worth that money. It will likely work out. I do think L'Jarius Sneed's staying in Kansas City. But maybe you look for a cornerback via trade. So what I think they're going to do, they're going to sign a veteran cornerback for 1 year again. Maybe sign Emmanuel Mosley again you could probably get him pretty cheap for 1 year. Draft a young cornerback. So then you still got Cam Sutton as your number 2, a veteran cornerback coming in, hopefully playing number 1, or maybe you get a top draft pick who can come in and I don't know if you can expect someone to come in and be the number 1, but someone to at least build around for the future. Then they're going to pay defensive linemen. But what if you could do something via trade? Like with the Chiefs, they've got to pay Chris Jones. They got to pay L'Jarius Sneed. They have a 23-year-old cornerback on the opposite side, Trent McDuffie, who has a year left on his contract. I wonder, there's way more to trades and the draft and everything, but what if you could just trade pick 29 for Trent McDuffie? They can't afford all 3 of those guys. If Trent McDuffie was what he is now and he was available in the draft at 29, you take him without thinking, right? As your cornerback pick. So why not just trade that pick? You save the, $8, $9, $10 million you're going to have to pay a first rounder. Give that to either an extension for McDuffie at age 23 or spread the wealth around to some of the other players. Again, I don't know if that's the trade and if it would really all work out, but doing something like this versus paying a 27, 28-year-old cornerback after he's had his success, paying him for what he did rather than what he's going to do. This is why Brad Holmes and GMs, they get paid the big money.
Yeah, because when I look at what the Detroit Lions were able to do this year with the personnel they had, if there was a splash to be had, I would want it to be on that defensive line. I feel like they have exactly what they need scheme-wise to be able to make up for any of the shortcomings from the defensive backfield. Do you want to be perfect at every position? Yeah. But when you're talking about how good he's drafted and wanting to keep those homegrown players who are in your system, it gets a little bit tough and a little bit difficult sometimes to make all of that work. I trust in this team's defense when they get into the red zone. Obviously, the 20s to the 20s, that's where they gave up a lot of yards, but it seemed like it was by design. And when they got into the red zone, they were one of the top teams in the league defensively from that standpoint. And if they had think about the help that Aiden Hutchinson would get if they did actually make a splash on the defensive line, and then how much better does that make the defensive backfield when you're giving the quarterback not just less time to make a decision, but under even that much more duress. That's what I loved about the pairing of James Houston and Aiden Hutchinson last year. If there's a splash to be made, for me personally, it's on the defensive line rather than in the defensive backfield, man.
Facts.
I agree. I agree totally. And, I think you want to go after like a veteran talent because I don't think you need a shutdown. As much as we would love a shutdown corner in this locker room, I don't think you necessarily need one, especially if you're sticking to your strategy of drafting talent. Obviously, they need to fill a depth role as well. I think you want to target somebody like a Stephon Gilmore, somebody that's had experience, somebody that's been there, that can share a backfield with Cam Sutton. They're both veterans. And then you bring in a young talent and you work from there. I would love to see, how they're going to attack it. I'm interested in Emmanuel Mosley, but I don't know, man. 2 ACL tears, it's kind of tough to come back from. But for the cheaper price, I would definitely consider it. But I think you just go after a veteran corner. You don't break the bank, and then you see what you have in the draft. That would be my personal strategy.
Definitely.
Love it.
Definitely, man. And you talk about being able to get that cornerback through the draft. If you got one of those guys that honestly step up as well as a lot of Brad Holmes draft picks have been, then you've just struck gold. That window will be clearly and wide open for the next 3 to 4 years minimum, man.
Facts. We're up again. Let's take a quick break. We are here at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. JB, can you tell us what are we telling the viewers about? Swiss. Kool-Aid, this is all you, baby.
Yes. And I know people already got football in the brain, man. And honestly, it was almost as good of a football season and as awesome as one as you could have both college and professional. But it's also a perfect time to shop your home and auto insurance. Shop it like a pro with Swiss Insurance. They cover Woodward Sports Network, and they should be covering you too. Ask for Mark at Swiss Insurance today at SwissINS.com or call 248-800-4177.
Come to any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience from one of our talented stylists and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. That's right, college basketball's most elite event. You and your 5 best friends just get to any Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically register to win the trip of your dreams. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Lady Jane's, it's wicked awesome.
Feel alive during Feldman Chevrolet's biggest New Year's sales event ever. Get the best prices on our huge selection of award-winning Chevrolets. Like this 2024 Equinox for $188 per month. Or this 2024 Silverado for $268 per month. It's the New Year's sales event going on now at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy?
It's Planet Fitness.
Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. They were talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
Rest in peace to the same old Lions. Thanks to Sheila, Brad, and Dan
Salute.
for putting that to rest. Also, rest in peace to the same old rock, paper, scissors. Jack Labrador has revolutionized that tired game with a 2-point play and a franchise-changing 3-point play. Check them out at jacklabrador.gg now.
What up, though, Detroit, and welcome back. It is Wake Up Woodward.
Wake up.
We're at Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. That is Feldman Chevy of Novi.
Sir.
See the cars, man. This is the
Check
one
it
that
out.
Broder's going home with. I got that one over there. You guys should definitely stop in as well so you could pick yours up, man. They got a great selection of Chevys here.
There's cars all over this place. The lot is full. I got my Chevy Blazer here last summer. Francis, way back there, he helped me lease it. Whether you want to buy or lease a car, head on in here to Feldman Chevrolet of Novi.
Got that
That's
number?
42355 Grand River here in Novi, Michigan. Check them out. This is a place to get your car.
Yes, sir. And we're talking about making sure that this Detroit Lions team can stay in this place of major contenders and ultimately give themselves an opportunity to not just get back this year to the top of the NFC, but punch through and keep that going for some years as well. That's what Brad Holmes talked about in his press conference, is that they're built for longevity. They're built for long-term success. They're not built just to kind of have cute seasons. And he stated that. He said, we're not just here to have kind of a cute season. We're not here to just kind of be like, okay, cool, we slayed some of these demons of the past. We're here to actually create something brand new, to be able to have a different culture and a different narrative as it relates to who the Detroit Lions and their organization is moving forward. Obviously, like you said with the Jack Lab read, man, shout out to Sheila, Brad, and Dan. It's not the same old Lions anymore. But
Or the Tigers.
Man. Shout out to the
They're
Tigers,
coming
man.
next. They're coming at 9:30,
Yeah,
9:35.
I think they got a good shot to win this division, man. And you know what? Fans are fired up. But
I know.
Jeremy Fowler, he said that extending Jared Goff is going to be a top priority for the Detroit Lions. I know there's a lot of people out there who have a lot to say about where the Lions should go with the quarterback position. A lot of people are talking about Hendon Hooker. They want to at least see what he has. There's a lot of people out there that believe for this Lions team to ultimately reach its pinnacle, they need a mobile quarterback. But Jared Goff has continued to prove year after year after year with the Detroit Lions, as they have improved. He's been one of the catalysts for that improvement for the Detroit Lions. Play clean football in the playoffs, help to get them where they need to go. That game against the Rams, to me, is still one that I'm just like, yo, he went out there with something to prove. And you can see Jared Goff at his best is probably one of the best options available to the Detroit Lions to be able to kind of keep this thing going forward. But obviously, there's this aspect that we just talked about with L'Jarius Sneed and the money that has to be spent
Money.
or can't kind of stifle what the Detroit Lions are trying to do from a long-term effect, man.
Do you believe in the phrase "more money, more problems"?
Yes. Not necessarily. To a degree, man. To a degree. I think that if you spend that more money the right way, I think that you have less problems. And Jared Goff is one of those guys where it might create less problems if you actually go ahead and lock him down. You talk about a Detroit Lions team where we've talked about quarterbacks throughout the kind of annals of Detroit Lions history up until we got to Matthew Stafford, who proved he was that guy, but they can never quite put it all together around him. Now you have a quarterback in which they believe that this team, at least from the offensive standpoint, is set up to work very, very well with who Jared Goff is. There were questions about when he first got here if he could make the deep throw, if he could connect on the deep balls. People thought that maybe some of what was going on or not going on with J-Mo might have been related to Jared Goff. But then we saw that Jared Goff was able to actually make those throws downfield, and he was putting a lot of those on the dot. You talk about one of the top, if not the top, quarterback at yards of over 20, passes of over 20 yards in the air. You know, Jared Goff, I think he's proven that he's deserving of an extension. And if the Detroit Lions want to kind of have this kind of built for longevity and success, I do believe that he is one of the top priorities, if not the top priority for the Detroit Lions.
And that's where the question lies. Is he a priority, or should he be the top priority? You know, we're talking this offseason. He still has one more year left on his contract. So most quarterbacks, this is the summer, this is the offseason, they get extended, but you don't have to. So I believe, I'm in the camp that he's a priority to extend, but he shouldn't be your number one priority right now. But I also understand once you take care of your quarterback, then you're set. You can figure out how to build around him. So it all depends on the process, the strategy Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell take. I think he's the quarterback that can lead this team to a Super Bowl win in the next couple years, but how can you build is his contract going to allow him to build a top 5 offensive line? Is his contract going to be 4, 5, 6 years, or you're going to get him into a 3-year deal? KG, what are you thinking about Jared Goff? Should he be a priority? Should he be the top priority?
You got to do it now. You got to do it now. Absolutely. I would do it this season if it were me making the moves, because it ain't getting no cheaper, folks. Let's say he goes back to the NFC Championship, he wins this time. That price is only going to go up and up from here, and you have to show this guy some kind of loyalty, especially being that seems to be the Lions mantra, we take care of our own. It would be a travesty if he went out and accomplished all this for this team and you don't pay this guy, you know, and you back yourself into a corner waiting too late to attempt to pay him. So I think you have to do it now. Yes, folks, you're going to probably have to pay him in excess of over $50 million, but there are things you can do to rework this contract. You can backload it. There's different things that they can explore to lower the cap hit. That way we can still be able to make moves for this team. And that's Brad Holmes' job anyway, is to figure out how to make this as cost-effective as possible. So if it were me, I absolutely do it now. You get it over with. Like you said, it doesn't even affect you this coming season. You still have a year under his original contract before the new contract kicks in. So now is the perfect opportunity to do that.
Yeah, Eduardo O'Neill says if Goff's contract comes at the risk of losing a top 3 O-line, then no thank you. I happen to be in your camp, Eduardo. Yeah. Trisha Miller says Goff's a priority. Detroit Grits as wide receiver is easier to replace than a QB. Goff signed number 1 priority money-wise. And real quick, Jeff Olson says Goff isn't one of the 3 most important players on his own offense. I disagree.
I disagree with that as well. I do agree with what Eduardo O'Neill is saying. You know, if it's going to cost that offensive line, because we understand that they work as a battery. It's almost like a pitcher and a catcher that have a great relationship together and they have a great chemistry and a great feel for each other. And I do believe that this quarterback and this offensive line, it's a great pairing. It is. I do. And I think that they're going to only have greater successes from here. But it does call into question. If he doesn't give Detroit an aspect of a discount, whether it's this offseason or next offseason, and he costs this offensive line, does that bring down his effectiveness overall?
Yes.
And that's the scary part to me. And I agree with you, man. I feel like if you don't get it done this year and the Detroit Lions have the type of success, you know, KG, that we all believe they're going to have, what is that number going to look like next season when he's just a flat-out free agent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a scary place
and you've
to
backed
be,
yourself into a corner at that point, and you're looking at, okay, do we go into an unknown with Hendon Hooker, or, you know, do we have to scour the market and hope that there's a top-tier quarterback out there that we can afford? You know, there's a lot of questions that come up if you just let his contract go to this last year and you don't do anything. So if you're really serious about keeping Goff, I think now is the time. Otherwise, I feel like you didn't really want to keep him in the first place.
Yeah, and maybe that plays into a little bit of their free agent strategy because Goff is not going to be cheap this year or next year. Yeah. You can get him on some aspect of a deal this year, definitely, especially when you're talking about the longevity. They just got kind of their first taste of this NFC championship and kind of being at the top of that. And I believe that kind of riding those vibes, kind of riding that wave, kind of building up this confidence and selling to him that you are our guy and you got to commit to him. You do. No matter how good Hendon Hooker looks after you give him this contract, because I know a lot of people, they want to see what Hendon Hooker is going to look like, especially, this preseason is going to be the first time we actually get a look at who he can be. But ultimately, in my opinion, if Hendon Hooker is that guy, and this organization is talking about his long-term success, I believe that then you are creating this environment where a guy like Hendon Hooker shouldn't mind kind of waiting behind Jared Goff for a few years while this Detroit Lions team continues to go out there, build up this chemistry, continues to go out there and kind of have this continuity and this familiarity with each other with Jared Goff as their leader. Man, when you look at some of these videos, and we talked about it before, the pregame hype videos, kind of the team meetings, kind of the huddle-ups and the chats and everything, and you hear Jared Goff speak, one of the things that I've continued to be more and more impressed about as it relates to Jared Goff is his leadership qualities. He's not just this kind of, hey, I'm just here to manage the game. He's a guy that's leading this team. Facts. And that cannot be underappreciated. Yeah. He's leading this squad, man. And that to me played just as big a role in this team getting where they got to this year as did one of the top offensive lines in all of football. I do.
It's the second team he's led that had a 10-year-plus playoff drought, led him to the playoffs in a playoff win. He did it with Los Angeles, and he did it again with Detroit. It's not the sexiest look. He's not the most mobile quarterback. He doesn't have the biggest arm. But when he's got the right pieces around him, and I know people look at that as a negative, but when he's got that offensive line and the pieces around him, he proved he is a winner. He gets W's. That's all I care about in my quarterback. Put the ball where it needs to be placed, make the right reads, don't turn the ball over, which he had some he had a stretch where he was turning the ball over, but people who say he's turnover prone, that argument is out. It's done. I don't accept it anymore. Yeah. He nearly broke the all-time record.
He doesn't have a big arm.
Yeah. Most of his fumbles came in that 4-game stretch, and most of his interceptions too. But when you're third in history for consecutive passes thrown without an interception, that's something.
Yep.
And he's just getting better. Lastly, I bring it up every time we talk about Goff. This is now his third year in a row with the same OC and quarterbacks coach. That's Ben Johnson and Mark Brunell. First time in his career he's had that. He's getting better. And I think he is going to get better. I don't know what that looks like, but it's happening.
That's a great point because none of us ever talk about the improvements that Jared Goff can make. We all talk about him in this vacuum as if he's just going to be the Jared Goff that we've always known, when since he's gotten to Detroit, we've only seen him improve. Yeah. And one of the savvy things, I feel like we're insulated, that this offense is specifically insulated to be able to absorb a Jared Goff contract. Why? Because as much as we talk about the need on this offensive line for Jared Goff, we've seen past quarterbacks here need absolute high-paid, multiple high-priced wide receivers and targets on the squad. Now, we do know that Amon-Ra is trending towards. We do know that Sam Laporta eventually is going to be trending towards needing these kind of high-priced things. But when I look at the Detroit Lions, even though we're saying that, we would like to see them bring in some more wide receiver help, it's not like we're sitting here saying we need to go out there and get him a star number one receiver because he needs this. He needs this receiver that can absolutely make Jared Goff. That's not who Jared Goff has been. Jared Goff has been the leader. He's worked with wide receivers that at first when I'm like, all right, so Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds, a rookie Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then we're going to go and trade for Sam Laporta and J-Mo. I'm just sitting here like, is that enough for Jared Goff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's enough for Jared Goff, and that's the difference.
And it's a fantastic point, Kool-Aid, because they don't need to go out and sign it. They're not looking for a number one wide receiver, Devontae Adams or Justin Jefferson. When we're looking in free agency or in this draft, we're thinking, what player fits this offense the best? I look at they just need a bigger body, a Xavier Legette, a Johnny Wilson out of USC, just to have that extra element to the offense. Not that they have to be a true number one. It's, all right, this offense will run with whoever we got. Let's make sure we have the right pieces to make it difficult for the defense to match up with. And to me, that means just a big wide receiver, whether that's for the goal line or just having a big threat. Not we need to go get Michael Pittman Jr. Actually, I kind of like Michael Pittman. But you know what I'm saying. I'm trying to think of the number ones out there, and Michael Pittman's not a number one, I don't think. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. What up, though, KG?
Hey, man, I agree perfectly, and we need to start realizing that Goff has been borderline MVP from after his first season on. And there's no telling if he continues to improve, you might be looking at a top 5 quarterback next year. He's already led a top 5 offense these past 2 years. And we need to start appreciating Goff for what he is, and that's why I'm so adamant about if you're serious about paying this guy, you need to pay him now because he's done so much for this franchise just in these past 2 years alone, man. He's helped us shatter so many of our old demons. It has to account for something. You know, and without him, I don't feel like this push would have been the same. Yes, you can make the argument that if we had a more elite quarterback or a more physically gifted quarterback, that maybe we'd be in the same position. But Goff has done everything we've asked of him and then some. And I love the way that he continues to improve his game. And yes, I'm excited for what he's going to bring us next year. But you have to seriously start thinking about what the future is going to be at the quarterback position now, seeing that you are 1 year away from having to either re-sign him or let him go. So they need to seriously be looking at this thing.
Yeah, I'm in the camp of, look, you got to kind of secure Jared Goff at all costs right now. When you talk about, those elites are the only quarterbacks who can really take this thing further than what he did, those guys aren't going anywhere.
Right.
They're not going anywhere. Patrick Mahomes isn't coming to Detroit.
Yes.
He's not walking through that door.
Locked up.
I believe that Jared Goff will be the best quarterback in this NFC North for the foreseeable future. I really do. And when you're talking about giving yourself an opportunity to win that division every single year with the guy who the team has identified as this is our leader, and they follow that guy, and his voice resonates in that locker room, man, and you talk about the way he's embraced the city. The way that you can hear him and Christian Harper just kind of, they do what they do for the city behind the scenes. They're not necessarily out there talking about it. I don't care if people do talk about what they do charitably or not, but they are on the scenes. They're doing things from a philanthropic standpoint, but then also what he's doing on the field and in the locker room. What he's doing, I'm hoping to see more of this, to kind of take these young wide receivers underneath his wing, J-Mo being the chief of it, and being able to turn this offense into something greater from the internal improvement and what he can do as a leader. That's what I'm hoping that can happen, and I believe that he already has. I forgot who said it, but it's like, you don't necessarily have to go out there and find the established great targets for Jared Goff. He's been a guy that worked with rookies. A rookie running back in Jahmyr Gibbs, a rookie in Sam Laporta, a brand new running back in David Montgomery that's new to the team. You know what I'm saying? And you're talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown, who he's only continued to improve as well, starting from his rookie year to what he's been over this last season with Jared Goff as his quarterback. I'm excited about how this team and this offense responds to who Jared Goff is as a quarterback. I am. And I think that it puts Brad Holmes in a position to realistically, it's an easy job for him on his offense, man.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's something special being built in Detroit. It feels like it's being built around Jared Goff, but we'll see. We'll see. This is the offseason that's going to paint the picture of what these Lions are going to look like for the next couple of years. When we come back, we got some Tigers to talk about. We're going to talk about some of their youth.
Eat 'em up,
some of their
Tigers, man. I'm excited about the Tigers, man. Really excited about this
springtime.
Season.
The boys of summer.
They're
back.
Let's
They're back.
go.
JB, what are we doing, baby? Lady James. Kool-Aid, tell him. Mr. Hair himself.
Well, the beard is nice, right?
Oh, yeah.
Up here, not so much. But come to Lady Jane's Haircuts for an award-winning haircut experience. Register to win a trip of your dreams. And all expenses paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament. And guess what? Braden Edwards, Tom Masway, and myself, we are credentialed. We will be there at the NCAA tourney, trying to see who the Pistons should be able to drive next. But that's right, no expense spared for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Feel alive during Feldman Chevrolet's biggest New Year's sales event ever. Get the best prices on our huge selection of award-winning Chevrolets. Like this 2024 Equinox for $188 per month. Or this 2024 Silverado for $268 per month. It's the New Year's sales event going on now at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
There we go. Oh, cheers, buddy.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. They were talking to one another.
Woodward Sports. You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Give your pet the best, and that means going to Premier Pet Supplies, Michigan's hands-down best pet store. They've been locally owned and operated for over 30 years. They got over 60 brands of food and nutrition experts to help you make the right choice for your pet, whether you got a dog, cat, iguana, bird, lion. Kool-Aid's got a lion.
That lion.
Yeah, they got everything you need, so check them out, premierpetsupplies.com.
What up, though, Detroit, and welcome back to Wake Up Woodward. We're broadcasting today live from Michigan's #1 Chevy dealership. You want to tell them where we're at, brother?
Yeah, we're here with Mark Murray out here in Novi. We're at 42355 Grand River Road. They host us every other Monday. It's part of what makes Feldman Chevrolet Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, we're going to take this for a spin after the show, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah.
Definitely. But look, I'm also excited about our Detroit Tigers. I think this feels like one of the more anticipated seasons for these Detroit Tigers because we can finally start to see everything that they've been working towards to kind of get back to a place of competitiveness and having a future that you can absolutely believe in.
Future.
I believe that we're finally there, man. I want to ask you, though, about some of this, the Tigers' youth and what we can expect for this season. I know that there are some people who believe, I know the over-under was set at, 80.5 wins, over-under. And there's a lot of people out there who believe that the Detroit Tigers are in a position to be able to win the AL Central.
Yes, I think so. And it speaks a little bit more to the fact that the AL Central is down than the Tigers are up or there yet. There is the top team in the AL Central at this point. They're going to need to improve. They're going to need to do some things to win that division, but it's there for the taking. The Twins are going to be down. They've already admitted they're not going to spend as much money this year. The White Sox are a mess. The Royals are a mess. It's a division for the taking. So what that means is, and what the Tigers have tried to build, they've tried to put together a perfect blend of veteran guys to help their young talent, their young major league talent, like your Spencer Torkelsons, Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter. Those guys help them develop, but also develop those guys coming up in the farm system, that Scott Harris, Jeff Greenberg. They're starting to draft. They're starting to build a system that they can build this team, this franchise off of. That's something that we haven't had in decades almost. Definitely not in the El Avila era. Yeah. So they've went out and they got Max Clark in this last draft. They got Jackson Jobe, a big starting pitcher who might be seeing some major league time this year. They got a lot of these young guys coming up that some may impact winning on the major league level this year, but some are going to be the cornerstones of this team 2-3 years down the line. And it's about how they work these guys up into the major leagues, how they build their confidence up through the minors so that when they get to the bigs, they're ready to compete. I mean, we're looking at a Colt Keith this year.
I was just about to say.
They just extended. We're going to see him, if not starting on opening day, he's going to play a big part of this Tigers team early on. Can he develop into what they expect him to be? We're not going to see everything this year, but is he going to show those signs that he can be your second baseman or third baseman of the future?
IT Hip says, please do not mention Al Avila ever again, brother.
we got it. The season hasn't started yet. We got to revisit some of the past to then show what the future looks like.
A lot of Al Avila picks on this team.
Right. There are. They've also started to move some. And the problem with Avila is when he made trades, we weren't getting anything back from the Verlanders, from the Scherzers.
Yes.
Like there was nothing that we could there's nothing from those trades that are on this roster now. Just a bunch of draft picks, some players that just haven't developed. So now it's what they're doing from single A up. They've got a whole new coaching staff developing a whole new hitting approach. Chris Fetter at the major league level is building a whole pitching development program down through the major leagues. And so we're starting to see, once they're healthy, the Tarek Skubals, the Casey Mizes, the Reese Olsons coming up next, the Jackson Jobs, Ty Maddens. So we're going to see how these guys develop. They've added a lot of depth to their pitching rotation at the major league level, so there's not as much pressure on the young pitchers to come in and deliver in this 2024 season. But the hitters, we're going to see Colt Keith. We're going to see Justin Henry Malloy. We're going to need Parker Meadows in center field to play, maybe not to his ultimate potential, but we're going to need him to play better than he did last year, continue to get better, be someone at the top of the lineup who gets on base. We know he plays fantastic defense in center field. Can he get on base in front of Riley Green, in front of Spencer Torkelson, and let those guys drive him in?
Yep. And because we talk about this as well, a lot of the success is going to be dependent on, obviously, the young arms that we have in this rotation. Obviously, Cy Young for Tyreek Skubal. Let's go. But it's also going to be the run support that they get. We talked about the comfort that they're able to play with when on the mound. They're not necessarily having to worry about, am I pitching from behind or am I in a position to where I can go out there and kind of cool, calm, collected, and just kind of throw my best stuff and be able to get this team What do you need out of these young guys? Maybe get them through at least 5 innings before you start to head to the bullpen to keep your young arms fresh, and then go to hopefully a more experienced bullpen that's able to kind of carry this win home for the Detroit Tigers. This is, to me, like I said, it's one of the more anticipated seasons for me as a fan. Looking forward to what the Detroit Tigers have. And you brought up a lot of this youth. Which ones do you believe are ready to contribute at a big league level this season?
I think we're going to see 4 or 5 of these young guys. I think we're going to see Colt Keith up, obviously. We're going to see Jace Young, another third base, second base prospect. Justin Henry Malloy, third base, maybe a little bit of outfield, maybe some DH. But then there's also Tyler Madison, a right-handed pitcher. They need a where's my notes? He's improved his fastball velocity. He's gotten up this offseason. He's sitting in the mid to upper 90s. He could be a guy to throw in either as a middle reliever or in the bullpen. And then also Jackson Jobe. He's sort of their star pitching prospect. He probably won't be up to start the season unless he does something special in spring training. But he's that next, number 1, 2, or 3 type of starting pitcher that they're going to have up at the bigs. I'm excited. To be determined how many wins they come out with, but this should be a young, exciting team, especially with the new baseball rules. I want to see lots of stolen bases. I want to see more bunts and hit and runs. Use their athleticism to their advantage. I think with A.J. Hinch, he's the right manager to do that. It's going to be a fun season. That's what I'm excited for.
Very fun. Yeah, shout out to Randy Shea, bro. He said Matt Broder for Tigers 5th starter. I love that.
Go.
John Parker said, I will admit baseball usually bores the hell out of me, but I am kind of excited for these young Tigers. I'm very excited for the Tigers as well. And I was going to ask you about this too, but Tony D is wondering, shout out to Tony D, if you could speak more on Max Clark.
Oh, yeah, Max Clark. He's one of the – he's a Scott Harris and Jeff Greenberg player. I don't know how to say it a different way. A Dan Campbell guy, right. Scott Harris, Jeff Greenberg player. Wyatt Langford is the prospect in his draft that's getting a lot of the publicity. He's a big – I think he's left-handed hitting outfielder out of Florida. A lot of people think, man, why didn't the Tigers go after him? But Max Clark, he's a 5-tool outfielder. Yeah. He hits from the left side, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, left-handed hitter. He's got 5-tool potential. So what he does, he can spray the ball around. He can hit for average. So he can spray the ball around to anywhere on the field. He can also hit for power, and that's maybe the one part of his game he needs to develop a little bit more. But he's one who has a really good discipline in the strike zone. His approach is great. He fits what they're trying to build from a minor league perspective up. Really good approach, gets on base at a high rate, then uses the athleticism on the base path. He's a plus defender, which means he's a very good defender. He's fast. He's quick. He has a strong arm. These are all things that factor in to his ability to be a 5-tool player. We're not going to see him this year. Yeah. He's going to be spending time working his way up through the minor leagues. We might, depending on how he does this year, maybe he's sniffing the majors next season, but he's one of those for the future to play in the outfield with Parker Meadows and Riley Green. Max Clark, he's got a ton of potential. We're going to do a more deeper dive into him and into some of these younger players as we move forward, but he's definitely one of those you can be excited about.
Maybe your next star.
Maybe. He's got star potential. I don't know how much this factored into it, but one of his high qualities coming out of high school, he was drafted out of high school, he's got one of the biggest social media followings in the country, and that's to me, that doesn't really mean anything. But in terms of rebuilding this Tigers organization, popularity, bringing fans in the seat, he's a very likable guy and has fans all over the place now. So it's just a little extra. A little extra seasoning to put on top. I'm excited about the future of Matt Clark. Don't expect to see him this year, but in the future, he'll be in the bigs.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it would be cool if they can establish, with as many young players as they have right now, if they can establish some type of a winning foundation this season. Think about how much more bolstered it becomes when the rest of these young guys that are down in the minors are able to finally hit the big leagues. You're talking about being able to kind of have this rebuild being built on something not based around like high contracts and spending big, but to be able to go and utilize and depend on your homegrown talent. I'm really excited about the Detroit Tigers' future, man.
Trisha Miller says, you guys have me interested in Tigers baseball. Wow. That's the goal.
Yeah.
If anything, you're going to feel the passion out of me. I'm going to be
You're
excited.
interested.
I'm excited, man. We got Detroit Tigers caps all the way around, including KG.
Yep, you know it.
Man, how you feeling about these Tigers, man? Because I know you worked down there for a few years.
Yeah. Big fan. I like what they're doing going forward. And, what I will say about Al Avila is that he didn't pick bad players. It was just player development was the real issue. And that's what I'm excited about with this team going forward is development. But, man, they are looking like they are going to make some moves. Health depending, I think that they can really make a wave in this AL Central.
Yes.
But, yeah, it's just all about health, and I'm really focusing on the bats. I think – we got enough decent arms. We had a good pitching rotation last year. Should only be added to that with the additions that they've made. Yeah. I'm really looking at the bats, man, because you can have the best pitching rotation in the world. If you're not putting up runs, then, it's not really going to show. It's not really going to factor. But, yeah, man, I really want to see what this young talent has, and I think this will be a good year for it.
Hell
yeah. Yeah, I like that, man. I know we got what's trending with JB Smooth.
We're gonna
most
combine.
electrifying segment in sports entertainment
and mailbag.
Yeah, definitely, and definitely, chat. You guys have been great today. Continue to hit that like button to support the crew. JB, what do we got? What do we have to get to? What'd you say? Feldman.
Yeah, Feldman Chevrolet. This is Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. They got 18 locations, so there's got to be a Feldman Chevrolet in your backyard. Just visit feldmanauto.com to find the location nearest you. Since 1996, they've been driven to provide a fast, convenient, and reliable car buying experience called the Feldman Advantage. And guess what? We're here. This is Monday. Every other Monday, Woodward Sports is here. Wake up, Woodward, and Big D Energy. Feldman Chevrolet is part of what makes Feldman Chevrolet Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
Have you ever wondered where all the finest restaurants get their steaks? It's Fairway Packing Company, providing Michigan restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef for over 60 years. But now you can buy these cuts of meat for yourself at the Steak Shop by Fairway Packing Company. Prime porterhouse, A5 Japanese New York strip steak, dry-aged Wagyu beef tomahawk. Delicious. Get to the Steak Shop today. Enjoy fine wine, have a private party, and get the finest cuts of meat anywhere. The Steak Shop on Mack Avenue in Grosse Pointe Woods, or order on.
Thank you to all the fans for making Woodward Sports your #1 online destination for Detroit sports. We promise not to drop the ball.
Feel alive during Feldman Chevrolet's biggest New Year's sales event ever. Get the best prices on our huge selection of award-winning Chevrolets. Like this 2024 Equinox for $188 per month. Or this 2024 Silverado for $268 per month. It's the New Year sales event going on now at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
What up, though, Detroit? Welcome back. It is Wake Up Woodward, and we're live at Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. That is Feldman Chevrolet of Novi. And I can't wait, man. We said after the show we're about to take this for a spin, right?
Yeah. It's not making its way back into this dealership. I can tell you that.
Can't wait. But, hey, you know what is up next, man?
Oh, it's
I need
time.
you guys to hit that like button for the most electrifying segment in sports entertainment. It is What's Trending with JB Smooth, the GOAT.
Hey, what's going on, you guys?
JVZ, hit us.
Hey, I know we were talking about the All-Star game earlier today, but I just got to show you guys that LED floor. I don't know if you guys peeped this.
It was bizarre.
The best part about the All-Star game, KG?
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much was. I mean, this floor is just so nice. Hopefully they start doing this on, like, actual NBA courts, but I heard it's not the best to play on, but it still looks cool.
I don't like it.
You know, why don't you like it?
I don't know. It's distracting. It's not like when are we gonna stop with the advertisements and technology? I mean, it's interesting idea, but I don't know. There's something about just a classic hardwood basketball floor.
I mean,
I
you
feel
can
you on that one.
change the view to a hardwood basketball court,
True.
but still.
True. I can just be a curmudgeon. Is that the right word? Curmudgeon?
I always thought maybe they should hybrid it. Maybe have like the LED kind of in the out of bounds line around the court and keep the court kind of classic. I feel that as a basketball player, I do appreciate the classic hardwood approach, man. Everybody knows that feel, the squeak of the sound of your shoes on a hardwood. I'm kind of more like that as well, man. I'm more of a traditionalist, but I can't lie. For an all-star game, it did look pretty cool, man. It looked kind of cool.
Eric
I like
Allen,
it.
I see you.
All right, well, lastly, before we get into mailbag, I just got to play this video for you guys. These Apple headsets are getting a little out of hand, and I don't know if I could handle this. Look at this man. Just
What?
Look at the dude next to him, though.
I couldn't be next to this man.
What's he? Oh, is he? Is this the halftime show? Is he doing Usher?
Whoa,
No.
okay. All
Whoa.
right.
Whoa. Going wrong. The guy was like wearing these Apple goggles and obviously doing some random stuff. But yeah, I couldn't be around anybody wearing this stuff. I'm sorry. I just can't.
Was that live? Was that planned?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a prank.
It was a prank. Yeah, but was the guy sitting next to him, was he in on the prank?
No, he was not in on it.
that looked like a real
hey, man,
reaction.
what you doing?
What a lot of people are doing with those.
Wow. You know,
Yeah, it
if
is
it was
not.
me,
It
I'm
is
just going
not.
to sit there and look at, like, Detroit Lions highlights, 2004 Pistons, this year's Tigers and everything. Going to watch Wake Up Woodward as well. I don't know what my man was watching, though.
I mean, he had to wake up too, so I guess I don't know.
Technology. See, you can just have the floor change colors while you're wearing your goggles. You don't, or whatever they're called.
Oh, my gosh, dog. That's wild, man. Yeah, don't include me in that. I can't sit next to somebody who's wearing that.
Yeah, I can't either. But that's it for what's trending. I was hopping to some mailbag with you guys.
Wow, transition from that one. Hey, questions. Mailbag. What you guys got in here? I see one from Eduardo O'Neill. First one. Mailbag. 5 non-negotiable Lions that get a second contract.
Ooh.
Amon-Ra, Penny, Aiden Hutchinson, Jared Goff, and
Laporta.
Oh,
definitely.
Go Laporta, and then
Brian Branch,
non-negotiable. I might actually take Jared Goff off that and do either Brian Branch or Gibbs. Well, like this year it's Goff, but that's a tricky question.
What a job, Dan.
Maybe
Brad
we make
Holmes.
a segment out of that tomorrow or the next day. The
That
first
would be a
3
good
are
one.
easy.
That would be a good one.
Interesting. If you guys have a strong opinion, speak up. Otherwise, we'll move on. Nice one, Eduardo. Nice one.
That's a great question, actually.
Who else we got? Philippines on Demand. What's up, dog? Mike G. JB, would you share a footlong with a date on opening day at Comerica Park?
Wait, what?
So I should read it through before actually speaking. Yes. Would you share, like a milkshake where you have 2 straws? No, like a Lady and the Tramp, but with a footlong.
With who?
A date.
Yeah, wait a minute. Who's
Of your choice. Alicia Keys.
Yo, after the Apple headset video, JB he's skeptical
yeah,
now.
I'm a little skeptical of this one. I mean, I guess if it's like my girl or,
Yeah.
Sabrina Ionescu wants to, come through, that's fine. Yeah.
Do you guys have to agree? If you're doing that, do you have to agree on the toppings of the dog? Like, do you have to both have the same ketchup and mustard? Do you go half and half like a pizza?
No, you got to agree.
If she like getting the freaky toppings, I can't do it.
Hold on. You got to say this again. You got to say this again, KG.
What about the freaky toppings?
like horseradish or some of that nature. People like
hot dog?
sauerkraut. I've seen some things on hot dogs, but pause. But yeah, you got to get half and half, man. But hopefully you would be in agreement on the topping. But
yes. Question for you and for me and for everybody, but since you got the headset on, John Parker goes, Broder and KG, what Tiger are you looking forward to watching the most this year?
Me as Spencer Torkelson. I think he's
Nice.
our big bomber, man. I want to see his average improve, but as long as he keeps hitting the home runs, it's fine with me, man. But we're going to need somebody to put the ball in the stands, and I think Torque is that guy.
Love that. I'm going to go with Tarek Skubal.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it. I'm a lefty. I just want to see that southpaw continue his trajectory. For me, it's all about staying healthy. I think he can compete for the Cy Young. Just got to be healthy.
Yeah.
What about you, Kool-Aid?
It's Tariq Skubal.
Yeah.
It's Tariq Skubal. When you talk about, obviously, Miguel Cabrera has been here for a long time, but when the Detroit Tigers, when the Detroit Tigers absolutely got rolling, it was behind those strong arms that they had, man. And I kind of want to see them get back to that, and their identity being kind of one where they're led by this pitching core. Though I agree with you, KG, from earlier, you got to have the run support. I can't wait to see Tariq Skubal look like some of the great Detroit Tigers pitchers that we've had of old. So.
Facts.
Just stay healthy, please.
Yeah. Please. Kalamazoo says mailbag, will there be any watch parties for the Tigers games? Maybe one a week, like on a Sunday would be cool. That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
I wish you could see the broadcast because, like, if we could, break down some pitching or break down what maybe the thought is, but if we can't show that, it's difficult. I don't know. Shout out to Kalamazoo, by the way. Michigan and Western Michigan faced off, opened their baseball season out in Phoenix. They split 2-2. Western got the first 2 games of the series. Michigan got the second 2. Kalamazoo, shout out to you.
Danny G. KG is seeing some things.
Mike G. Mailsack, the Kenny can make him look like he bench presses 300. Have you been working out like a boss, he asks.
Nah, I wish I was. That good going right now. I just make it look good. That's all.
Let's go. We got one more question.
Do we got one more?
Oh, one more for JB. To end the show, JB Big Show Picks asks, mailbag, does Cody Rhodes fight on both nights at Mania? You got to put the microphone on him. First. Oh, yeah, you. I know people forget. Yeah, my bad.
People forget that KG's a wrestling fan, too, but does Cody go on both nights? By the way things are looking right now, I think that definitely does happen because I don't know what's going on with this whole Rock-Roman dynamic that they're going back and forth. Now you added Seth Rollins as well, too. I wouldn't mind a tag on night 1 and then, the championship be defended on night 2. That kind of sounds good to me. What about you, KG? What you think?
I was about to say.
Mike.
Yeah, I don't really know where they're going with the Seth Rollins thing, but I could definitely see Cody being on both nights. He's their biggest star, and that's who they're trying to push going forward. So I can definitely see that.
Yeah. You say Seth Rollins?
Yeah, Seth Rollins.
Is he related to Jimmy?
No.
Oh, okay.
At least as far as I know.
Sonny? Related to Sonny Rollins?
I don't think.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Need a DNA, a 23andMe test. That'll do it for our show. Cool. You want to take us out? If you guys hit that like button, please.
Hey, definitely, man. You guys already know we got the most elite booth in the game, man. KG on the sounds. We had JB in the TD, running the TD today, and it was great, man. Great conversation overall. The chat, you guys were electric as always, a part of our Wake Up Woodward family. Definitely, before you guys leave, hit that like button to support the crew and to continue this streak of being the most liked show on Woodward Sports Network. We appreciate it. For our Detroit Lions and Tigers beat reporter and writer, credential, and your Detroit Pistons credential beat writer and reporter, man. We got Matt Broder. We got Brandon Dan, a.k.a. Detroit Kool-Aid. Thank you guys for tapping in. We'll see you next time. Wake Up Woodward.